This episode of Her Design, Her Story is proudly sponsored by Royal Oak Floors, the founders of engineered oak flooring in Australia. Elegant yet durable, practical yet luxurious, Royal Oak Floors have formed the foundations of inspiring Australian architecture and interior design for over 20 years, with flooring products that are uniquely tailored to Australian lifestyles. Royal Oak Floors is proud to announce the launch of 4 new colours in its renowned Architect collection, the result of collaborative workshops in which design professionals shared emerging trends, unmet needs, and evolving preferences in Australian interiors. We're proud to partner with a brand that values craftsmanship, sustainability, and the stories behind every space. Explore the new colours at royaloakfloors.com.au. Today's guest is Brooke Holm, an Australian photographer whose striking visual work has earned international recognition from her base in New York. She is known for her distinctive ability to capture the relationship between architecture, landscape, and human experience. Originally from Australia, Brooke has built a global career photographing spaces, places, and people with a style that feels both cinematic and deeply atmospheric. Her work has been featured in leading international publications and commissioned by renowned architects, designers, hotels, and lifestyle brands around the world. What makes Brooke's imagery so compelling is not just its beauty, but the emotion and sense of place she brings into every frame. In this conversation, we'll explore Brooke's journey from Australia to New York, how travel and environment shape her creative perspective, and what it takes to build a lasting career in photography on an international stage. We'll also touch on creativity, intuition, visual storytelling, and the evolving relationship between photography, design, and culture. Brooke, welcome to Her Design, Her Story. Thank you so much for joining me today in New York.
Thanks
Very
for
exciting. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. You and I crossed paths in Melbourne quite a few years ago now. I bought one of your beautiful artworks, so I actually think of you often because it's in my office. But I know you have had a really incredible career journey to date. So I'd love to go back to the beginning of what that looked like. I know you were born in America and then moved to Australia. What was that first career pathway for you like when you finished school?
So yeah, like any teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to choose, and so I had to go to uni. I picked a degree off a list, Bachelor of Creative Industries in television. Doesn't exist anymore, and I think they got rid of that degree like 2 years after I finished.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, it was interesting because we did like, it was a little hands-on where we like had to make a TV show. We got to make some short films, and like it was really nice to get like my hands on camera equipment.
Yeah.
So, like, but it was more like video. And then I would always use my mom's film camera, like just for like taking pictures of my sisters. And like if we were like traveling, and like sometimes I was like, you know, looking out the plane window, like traveling between my mom and my dad, like between Australia and California. And so I feel like I always had this sort of overview, like look at the world that I was very interested in. And it wasn't until probably a little later where it just started to manifest into something I like purposefully would do. But that degree ended up getting me sort of this like entry-level job in an advertising agency in Brisbane, and I was kind of just like this little like traffic assistant. I was like running job bags around like all the creatives, and I was like so inspired that like, you know, the copywriters and the art directors, they were like doing really cool stuff, and like they were making like jingles for the Donut King and like,
oh wow, yeah.
And I ended up like sort of like stepping up a little bit and becoming the producer's assistant, which was cool because then I got to be on shoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I mean, like any big company, they wanted to save some money, and they were like, hey, like, can you go out and take pictures of these like billboards we made? Or can you like take pictures of this print ad we made? And so I just like somehow also just became the in-house photographer. And it was like really fun. And every time they sent me on those kinds of jobs, like I got to leave the office and I got to like go around the city and just like have this big camera I didn't really know how to use. And I was just taking photos. And eventually I was like, I actually want to know how to use this properly, like
Yeah.
take it off auto, and like I want to know more about photography. I was really loving just like being out in the field, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I ended up studying while I was at work, like part-time in the evenings at this, it was called Design College Australia, and they had this photography, they were like more graphic design, but they had a photography class, and it ended up being like very intense. Like it was like a full-time program jammed into like part-time hours, so I was like very intense, but I was obsessed with it. Like we shot like fashion, we shot interiors, we shot all this stuff. I learned Photoshop, I like learned all these things that I just really wanted to know.
Amazing.
And like after that, it was only 1 year, that course, and like after that I was like, oh yeah, I mean like I'm a photographer now. And then I moved to Melbourne.
Oh, that's incredible.
Because I found this job that was like working for Kiki K, and it was like a photo photographer job, so I was like taking pictures of stationery and like setting up
their product
things, and like that's where I met like Neil Hugh, that's where I met Marcia Golmack, that's where I met
probably
Lillian, like everybody that I'm like still bestest friends with in Melbourne is like Kiki K.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they had all worked there, because I feel like I remember crossing paths with you and Marsha. I think did some photography when I worked for a designer in Melbourne, and it was, I feel like it was, everyone was always looking for new, interesting
and
talent.
I think we like worked there at the same time. Neil hired me, and then like I and Marsha sort of like quit around the same time. She quit a little bit before me, and she's like, I'm gonna go out and do my own thing, and then I sort of like followed suit, and then we started to team up and work together. And then we would like approach people based on like their Instagram. If like they looked like they had a nice house or something, we'd like, can we come over and can we like style it? We want to shoot it and we want to submit it to a magazine, and like people let us.
Well, it's a bit of a win, because the photography is quite an expensive component, so you want to nail it. So if someone showed interest, 100%.
Absolutely. And then we would shoot them and like at our own expense, and then we would submit them to, I don't know, like Inside Out and Belle and like all these magazines and Vogue Living, and like sort of just organically became like this duo that would just like shoot interiors, and like then we got more into still life, and it was kind of just this like really beautiful organic time for like us growing our careers. We were like young, I was like 23 or something, and it kind of just sort of snowballed into where we are all at now, which is like seems thriving, and everyone's doing their own thing. But it's like our beginnings were very like sweet and like innocent in like this world we didn't really know anything about, but then we quickly sort of like started working with like all these amazing architects and like Flack, and like I don't know, it was kind of a great time.
And it's also interesting, I sort of look around that time as well, because I've met some amazing friends through the work I was doing and things, and you realise that longevity with people, a lot of collaboration, connection, everyone was sort of going through that similar wayfinding, I guess, and working out where their interests were, and you know what could lie ahead. Because how long were you in Melbourne before you made the move over here?
You know, I think in the end I was only there for like 7 years, but it feels like such a major part of my life.
Yeah, formative.
Yeah. Because I was in California till I was 9, and then I moved to Australia in 1996 with my mom and my sisters, and then we lived in Brisbane for a really long time, and I went and I did like all my schooling there, and then I moved to Melbourne, I think it was 2011, and then I moved to New York in 2016. I wasn't even there for that long.
All right.
So it wasn't
an important
that long.
time.
Yeah. And now this is in September it will be my 10th year in New York.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I did want to touch on obviously the evolution of your career. You have now evolved incredible amount of work that you're doing at the moment, which I want to touch on shortly. What was the driver in you coming to the US? Was it to further study, or did you have particular connections over here, or was it just that sense of adventure?
I definitely think it was more the sense of adventure. I think when I would visit my dad in California with my sisters, like growing up, we'd always do a trip to New York, and we would just run around the city. We'd always stay at this like semi-illegal hostel. It was just like, I loved New York so much, and just like Broadway, and just like everyone was working in cafes, and like very like this momentum of the city. And I was like, one day I'm gonna live here. And just like an opportunity presented itself, and I wasn't really like planning on it, but when it came up, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go and see what happens. And it was kind of perfect timing. And I mean, a little bit like politically it was crazy timing, but also it was just like nice to be here after so long. And I have a dual passport, so it was like kind of a easy like settling in period. And I don't know, it took me like a little bit to get on my feet when I got here and just like start getting work and like clients, and like going around to all these like agencies and magazines and showing them like my portfolio and all of that. But I mean, as an underlying current of all of that, like work was like always my art practice. And so like, I think also being in Australia is so incredible, and one day I do want to be back. But a lot of my art practice is like involved having to be in different locations and like traveling to like all these places. And so just Australia is like so far from all of that. So I felt like being in New York is like a good sort of home base to then sort of try to go to other places. Like, I don't know, just like every time you leave Australia, you know, everyone goes on holidays for 5 or 6 weeks for a reason. It's so it's just like
it's expensive and it's far. And I think it's interesting. I've always had a real pull to New York as well. And I think I always felt like everything was here. You felt global. I think Australia's come such a long way, but I think just by the essence of location, there is a sense of there's just so much going on here.
It's definitely amazing. And I do appreciate Australia. I feel like still, even having been here 10 years and having seen like at this industry, I still think Australia is like so much further ahead in terms of like design, aesthetics, like I don't know, just a sensibility for space. And it's interesting because I go back to Australia and I'm always really inspired, and I'm like, it's actually so good here. Because I don't know, you come here and then you kind of get used to like the really crappy things, and you're just like, oh, it would be so nice to just like have healthcare again. Like,
I know. Well, we are quite well supported, and I think from that design sense as well, it was interesting. I was speaking to some designers recently in Brisbane, and they were talking about the evolution of clients hand in hand with the creatives. Like, people are now more educated, prepared to spend a bit more money, happy to invest in certain things, which enables that kind of growth in some ways as well. So it feels like, particularly since COVID, there's certainly from a client point of view, people are really interested in Australian artists and furniture makers, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. And then you start seeing that here, and you're like, oh, I know that person from Melbourne. Like, it's great. It's so good.
Oh, that's good. So when you moved to America, obviously working a little bit while you were here, how did that, I know I wanted to touch on some of the key themes in your artwork. You do beautiful explorations of space and time, and I was always really drawn. I think for me, artwork's always got that aesthetic appeal, and then I love when you uncover the actual meaning, the ethics behind what the artist is doing. I was speaking to you before. I think what you explore I find personally really interesting. I've always had quite a fascination with time and our perception of that and how it affects our spaces. Have you... I know you've already sort of had this undercurrent of thinking. Is that something that you've been able to evolve further over time here and just really play with those same themes through your artwork?
And I think right now, especially, like, I'm finishing my Master's of Fine Art. And
amazing.
So over the past 3 summers, I have just been sort of immersed in this like amazing community of artists, and all the faculty that come and do studio visits with me, like, are all working artists. Like, a lot of them are showing at MoMA and like having huge shows, and they're just coming in for an hour at a time to talk to you about your work. And so even just that part of this is like allowed me to speak about it so much better, to like really quickly hone in on what I am most interested in. And it's become more clear to me. My first like experience with my own artwork is like it's very intuitive. Like, I'm just doing it, and I'm like not necessarily trying to intellectualize it too much in the moment, but I'm just doing this thing that I feel pulled towards. And it's interesting because now that I'm thinking of it more like academically or more conceptually and trying to like really hone that part of it, it's funny because like it was always there, and now it's just being drawn out in a more intentional way. And I think I'm just like so grateful for that. And I also, because a lot of my artwork and my experiences have been elsewhere, like in the field and like doing field recordings and shooting in like, I don't know, like Namibia and Australia and like Death Valley and like all these places.
Yeah, wow.
It's kind of nice right now that I have really just started to have a studio practice, which is in my studio. It's like very grounded. I'm not really in the sky right now. Like I have been in helicopters and planes and stuff, shooting a lot. And that is incredible. And just honestly, there's nothing like it, but it is really nice to then come into a studio and see what I can do in there. Yeah. And so my work has more evolved from just photography into more like installation work. And I'm like working on these sculptures right now. And I'm just
amazing.
Like, they are still photos. Like I'm working with slide film through a microscope, and I'm taking images of like bugs in ice and lava rocks from Iceland, and just like getting into like the worlds and crevices sort of in the studio, which there are endless worlds like just in this like tiny piece of rock. And it's like I could just do that for such a long time.
I think it's interesting.
I don't even go anywhere.
Yeah. Much easier. No, I think that sense of scale as well. I did want to touch on, you did an amazing TED Talk recently, which congratulations, that's really quite incredible. And I was impressed at the length of speak. Like, you know, you watch these TED Talks and it's a lot in 15 minutes that you're covering, but I thought it really beautifully summed up your thinking and that kind of process more into that installation as well. But you did touch on volcanoes, which I've always been really fascinated with, because growing up in New Zealand, a lot of volcanoes. And I remember when Ruapehu erupted, and it felt otherworldly. Yeah. It was something you sort of relate to the dinosaurs, or, you know, and I remember we were all blown away. So fascinating. And then driving through that part of New Zealand after the volcano and this lava rock, which and you know, reading about it, and they were saying this rock is however many years old. I couldn't get my head around it.
It's amazing. It's just like a collapsing of time from, you know, millions of years into the present. And it's so, it just like makes you stop and like pause and think about like our version of time is not like actually how geological time works. And it's a lot. Well, I think it's that thing of light as well. I remember at school my daughter was talking to me. She's got to that age now where you can see they're realizing that the world is so much bigger and so many questions about space. And I think with that recent Artemis mission as well, was super fascinated about how these people were out orbiting the moon. I was like, I can't think about it too much, but the idea of light years as well, I've always found that really intriguing, that what we're looking at is actually from time. I know, it's like
mind-blowing.
I think it's this is what I love about it. It's so existential, and it really makes you like zoom out and like take yourself out of like you're kind of like embodied in this moment where like everything feels like it's just happening, and like stress and just like the world and like politics and everything going on around you is so overwhelming. And like we're purposefully overwhelmed by social media and all these like stimulant things, but then you see something like that and you see the dark side of the moon with like a solar eclipse.
It's wild.
Like, it is just I just absolutely, that's why I do what I do. It's a moment to stop and just get outside of yourself and feel like you're just part of this bigger connection, this bigger web of like everything is gravity, everything is like moving around each other, everything is like deeply connected. And I just love like seeing those little things like come out, because it makes me just feel so much more part of something bigger. And it's
and that sense of scale, I guess, in that idea of a volcano and coming down to that beautiful aesthetic quality that you find. So for example, if you were with the slides you're doing, this might be a really silly question, is that a lot of field work, bigger picture photography, and then you kind of work your way down in scale? How does that work for if you're exploring a new subject?
I am literally just putting a rock under the microscope, and
so found objects.
Found objects. A lot of the insects that I have sort of like kept in my fridge since the summer were like bugs that I had found dead on like the campus of my school last summer, and people were like knowing that I was like working with these insects and talking about pollinators and these kinds of things, and they would just be like, I found you an insect, and then they'd be like, it's over there, or they would like bring it to my studio. I had like all these cats bringing me like these like bugs, so and it was just so nice, and that felt like a communal like task. Like everyone got really excited to find a new like beautiful dragonfly or something, and so I just ended up with this huge collection of bugs, and they're like slowly decaying, and I'm sort of just like letting that happen. I'm freezing some of them, I'm shooting some through the ice, because this project I'm working on is very much about like deep time, geological time, with like ice, glaciers, insects, like, you know, sort of like the beginning and the end, and just I'm sort of just putting these tiny little things under the microscope and shooting that, and then that ends up as like a 4x5 film slide, which then is going into like these light boxes that I'm making.
Amazing.
And so it's amazing. I'm also like doing a sound piece with it, and so those sound recordings were recorded in the field. Like I have some bat recordings that are recorded on campus with like an ultrasound recorder, and I have birds that are recorded in Australia when I was there in January. And then there's this glacier ice melting underwater with a hydrophone, and then there's like me thumping on a piano, and I'm just like, all these things together will circle around you in the room, and like probably revealing too much right now, but this is like what I'm really deeply in the middle of right now. And so like part of it is like field recordings and collections, and but the subjects that I'm working with are very much like tangible little tiny fragments of things that are like in my studio.
That's incredible. Does it feel like a great culmination of thinking? I know, obviously, as a creative, you're always probably in the headspace of what you're doing. Is there something wonderful, I guess, in doing this master's, that it gives you that parameter to really, I know you're talking about honing in on the subjects that you're really interested in. Is there a sense of, I guess, cohesion of years of ideas coming together? Yeah,
there is, and a lot of that could be subconscious, and you don't really know like how it's evolving in your own mind. But then, I've sort of definitely been able to focus in just like on a couple of subjects, and that's almost enough. Like it's like it represents so much more that I don't really need a bunch of like extra things. But I think just talking about my work with people and being around a community of artists, and like everyone is showing their work in some capacity, and even me practicing like giving other people like critique, or like having this reciprocal conversation is I don't know, it's like something I never had. I never went to art school, I never went to photography school, really. Like I did that course, but like it wasn't really.
I think there's something fantastic about approaching that as well when you have had experience behind you. We were talking before about masters. I did my Masters of Architecture right after I finished architecture, and at the time it made sense, and I found my thesis recently. I was reading it, I thought, gosh, I just don't think I'd have that in me anymore. But on the flip side of that, I would be interested in some ways. I love studying, I loved it, and there was a certain rigor to it, and there was a lot of group critique work and things like that. But I think in some respects it would be interesting to see what I'd get out of that now with a wealth of work experience behind me, because obviously at the time everyone's quite fresh.
Totally.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I'm doing it now. I think I needed to have that whole very long period of life experience, and like a whole practice, and a whole like other part of me where, you know, I'm still shooting architecture and interiors, but I'm just like, that's on the side, and I love doing that. But I'm just able to come back later when I'm ready to be like, okay, it wasn't like an existential crisis that I was in, but I was like, I know that I'm looking for something more, and I'm looking for the next thing, and what is that going to be, and like what's the best opportunity for me, and it just so happened that it ended up being this program. And like, it's just, I cannot speak highly enough about it, because for me it's really, in the small time of 2 years, completely changed my work, and I'm so happy. And that's what I was looking for, as well as I have this whole new community of people that are all like, you know, so now some of my best friends. Like, it's
amazing.
Just so nice to also build a new community of like artists and people that are all working towards this sort of similar goal, and being in the same space and experiencing something that's like very intense together, and coming out of that and being like, okay, like now we're keeping each other accountable, like, and now we're like doing studio visits with each other outside of this program, and like that is the gift too,
the connection and collaboration. Are there other people in the courses that are mixed media, people doing all sorts of, how interesting.
A really amazing part of it is that it's interdisciplinary, so there's writers, painters, music, sound, photography, and sculpture. And so we're all together, we're all creating each other's ideas. Everybody is like doing studio visits with faculty in all kinds of disciplines. So you're not just I'm not just having photographers in my space, like it's almost everybody else.
Which is interesting, given, you know, you're talking about that evolution of your work through sound and sculpture.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
so
just
interesting.
like, I know, just having other people's perspective on your work is so interesting. And like, you know, sometimes you take it, sometimes you leave it. And it's just, I think it's just makes you think in such a more holistic kind of way, in a medium sense. Like.
Yeah, and it's probably that thing as well. I can see sometimes with, I mean, the work I do is very different and probably not nearly as intellectual, but you know, when you're really embedded in your own ideas, and then someone comes along and they might misinterpret what you're trying to say or do, and I think sometimes that sense of collaboration and critique can be quite useful. Does everyone, am I making my you know, my ideas clear?
Because I mean, the whole idea of it is to help you talk about your work, or like fix or work on the things that are maybe confusing, or I mean, the whole purpose is to like help you grow.
Oh, that's amazing. So you finish your master's this summer, which is really exciting.
I'll have my thesis show in mid-July, and then it'll be over.
Amazing. But I'm sure, does that open up a whole other realm of opportunity for you after?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think so, and it already has. I think it's just a matter of like getting that done, and then hopefully it's just like a culmination of all this like hard work, and hopefully some people see it. It'll be great.
Oh, that's incredible. Is there a sort of a show? Do they do an end of?
There's an exhibition on the 11th of July, and so it like kind of coincides with Upstate Art Weekend, and so there's like a lot of people in town. There's a lot of people like coming through, and we're in this like crazy building this year that's like it's like an ex-cult community seminary, and the school like bought it, so we're kind of like the little test subjects for this space. But I think it'll be cool. Like, I feel like having this exhibition in architecture that's weird and interesting is much more, I don't know, better than just like an empty shell with white walls.
Yeah, well, I find that intriguing, but oh, that's amazing. Are there any other next projects on the horizon for you? You're obviously really focused on July.
Yeah, I'm very focused on July. I feel that it is nice to not be thinking too far into the future right now, and I'm just sort of taking it a day at a time.
That's amazing.
But yeah, in saying that, I think I have been craving just getting my body back out into space as well. Like, while it's amazing to have the studio practice, I am very much thinking like, you know, being on a ship would be really great right now.
How does that? I was looking at you did an amazing series of photographs from your time in Greenland. How does that come about? Is that you sort of finding where you want to be and what you want to be doing?
A lot of them are artist
Looks very intriguing.
So that is what I am usually looking for, and it's like something you apply for. And I mean, the one in Greenland was 4 artists and the captain of this tiny solar-powered sailboat.
Oh, wow.
And I somehow got like included on this like crew of artists, and it was so great because we basically were on this sailboat for a month, and we just sailed around and did our projects, and it was just very low-key.
Incredible.
Awesome. And then, you know, I've done the Arctic Circle residency, which is like more like 30 artists on a bigger like tall ship. And I guess the one that I would like probably keep applying for until I die is like the Antarctica one, which is like polar steam here. Australia also has their own version of an artist residency to Greenland. And yeah, they kind of just like take one person. So it's like you just keep applying until you get it. So that's kind of like my next sort of thing that I would like to do is like do the Antarctica residency, because also in Antarctica they have one of the biggest deposits of meteors in the world.
Oh, really?
Like,
I didn't know that.
Out in the field, and there's like scientists studying them, and so I'm just like, I would love to just get out there with my take my microscope and just like kind of like document them out in the wilderness. But
that's incredible. Yeah, I never knew that about Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I just think that sense of just nothing on the. I've had a couple of friends who have been down there, and some incredible imagery. It just looks breathtaking. Yeah. That's amazing. I did want to ask you, obviously, particularly at the moment, I know you're right in the midst of this, your master's project. Is there any other ways that you, obviously getting out into places for inspiration, is there anything else you sort of incorporate into your lifestyle that helps you stay really inspired by the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm often going to galleries, museums. Like I love looking at other artists' work and, you know, seeing that in space and context. And I used to probably like do that for enjoyment, and I still do it for enjoyment, but now I'm like, okay, it's Saturday, this is part of my job, I'm gonna go see some art. And so like that more kind of regimented, like I will do this because it's my work, like is kind of great, and you never regret it. Like it's always you're seeing something, and like I've started, you know, taking my journal with me there and just like writing what I'm seeing and like kind of like doing a mini critique just to like practice that too.
Yeah.
And you know, try to like get at what is this artist trying to say, versus before I might have just like walked into a space and been like, oh yeah, cool, and I would like keep going. So it kind of just makes me stop and sit with it and think about it.
That's good advice, actually, because I find sometimes, particularly like if I'm somewhere for a short time, like in New York at the moment, you start to sort of take for granted all the spaces you're walking into.
Yeah.
You get a bit tired. You're looking at a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's a lot. Like
stops
I think
and makes you think
also
about
the trick is to not maybe do too many in one day. But it's kind of nice to just be inspired by that. Also, I mean, last weekend I went for a hike. That is always an amazing reset, inspiration moment. I'm like, look at these little waterfalls.
Where do you go upstate?
Yeah, I mean, last weekend I went to Bear Mountain, which is only like less than an hour and a half drive, and it's like, it was just one of those really nice, misty, kind of almost rainy days, so there wasn't that many people on the trail, and it was just, it was so nice because I haven't been hiking since before the winter. It's been crazy winter.
Yeah, it's been cold here, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know, that's always something that I have done, and it's great.
Oh, that's good. So hiking, nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any sort of particular art galleries that you keep going back to?
Yeah, I mean, I recently got like an artist membership to MoMA, which is like $30 a year instead of $30 a time you go.
Yeah.
And so I've been going to there, and like MoMA PS1 is great in Queens, and it's or Long Island City. Technically, don't know what that is. Those, I mean, them, and then the Whitney just had the Biennale, and then like the bigger museums are one thing, and then there's like areas for galleries that you would go to,
smaller
like the
galleries.
Side, or like more like Tribeca.
Yeah.
There's like Chelsea, obviously around here. There's so many galleries, so it's like it's
I know,
almost
it's
like
a
you
bit
just
overwhelming.
like pick an area and like you do all the ones there.
I know. I was laughing with a friend this morning. I've got all these flags saved in my Google Maps of everywhere I want to go. So you often don't realise you might miss something by street.
Yeah.
Yeah, so making sure you cover all the ground.
I mean, in Chelsea, it's good because you can kind of just like walk up the streets like this in like a snake formation and just like hit everything.
Yeah. I know, so much to take in. Yeah. Before we wrap, I just wanted to jump into her edit questions.
Yes.
Can you remember your first art-related purchase?
Yes, it was probably like a photograph by my friend, Dan Hawking.
Oh, I remember Dan. Yeah.
He and I used to just shoot the S about photography. And I think like one of my first prints that I ever had was one that he gave me, and then I still have it up on my wall. And
amazing.
Just taking photos of like these amazing sort of just like mounds of dirt in a quarry, and I was like, I'm gonna need that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and so I actually
nice.
have this thing where I've started collecting like my friends' work more intentionally, and so like a lot of my friends at school, even like right now, I've like, you know, bought drawings from and like little tiny sculptures, and I'm kind of just like collecting these pieces from people that are like very much in my life right now, and like I don't really have any like famous artist work. I did buy a Nan Golden print that was like part of a like just like a fundraiser for Palestine.
Yeah.
But I love like small, almost like A4 size or like smaller things that I can just like put in a folder and like save them for like, I don't know, like a time capsule almost of like, these are the people I know right now.
Oh, that's so cool. Any favorite creative icons, living or legend?
Yeah, that one's a tough one.
I know so many.
I feel like I don't know, maybe we have to come back to that one, because I really was just thinking of like my style icons when you like sent me these questions,
which can feed into the next question.
Right, but like, okay, I was just thinking like my two would be like Diane Keaton and Steve Jobs. Like, I was
love
like
that, the
joking
perfect
like
combination.
Steve Jobs, but also maybe even like Seinfeld, like the 80s like bomber jacket with high-waisted jeans and white sneakers and like a turtleneck. I feel like that's like kind of like my thing. But
amazing.
Diane Keaton for more like, you know, it's like button up, like going out look that's very like gender neutral. Like.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Brooke. I've loved catching up with you.
Thank you.
That was great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.